Okay, so let's figure out how to hook up this i3 module to this balanced breakout board and then connect that to a FlexiBMS. So I think I'm gonna start with I'm gonna attach the balanced breakout board to the connector, and then I'm gonna, with a multimeter, I'm gonna measure around and check that where do all these points actually connect on the pack, because I mean just pointing out the possibility that the silk screen is wrong. So let's verify where all the connections go before we start actually wiring them up and connecting them to the BMS. So let's start with that. So just a little background. The way that this battery is built is that the negative terminal is here, and then the cells go like they zigzag like so, and then they end up here, which is the positive terminal. So let's get this breakout connected. I like this connector because when you latch it up, it like pulls itself in there, and you can lock it in. But I'm not gonna push it all the way in at the moment. So I'm gonna put it in. We're gonna measure voltage. And I'm going to start with this -1, because I would suspect that that is supposed to be going to the negative terminal. So let's check. If it is the negative terminal, it should read 0 volts, which it does. So if I go to the first cell, it should read about 4 volts. Okay, so the -1 here is the negative terminal. So from there I can use this here. I can use this as my ground or my reference point, and then I'm gonna go through all these, and the cells should be at about 4 volts. So there's a window closing in the background due to wind. When I go through these cells, the voltage should rise about 4 volts each time. So first cell about 4 volts, second cell about 8 volts, third cell about 12 volts, fourth cell about 16, fifth about 20, sixth about 24, maybe 25 is more close. They are a little bit over 4 volts each cell. 24 volts, yeah, that's good. 28, 32, 36, 40, once again there's a window opening in the background, 36, so that'd be 40, 44, and 48. Okay, so the -1 is the ground, and then they are logically marked on here. So then I'm going to also check the temperature sensors. I'm going to switch my multimeter to resistance measurement, and then because there are only 3 temperature sensors on this pack. There's one here, there's one here, and then there's one back here. But there are four places available on the breakout board, so I don't know if it's maybe some other pack which has all 4 of them, but this one only has 3, so I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check like which ones actually show any resistance, indicating that there is a temperature sensor connected behind them, and then, well, let's start with that. So I'm gonna go from the bottom towards the top. So T2. That shows about 100 kilo ohms. Okay, there's a sensor there. Then T4, there's a sensor there. T3, that is empty, so there is nothing connected here. And then T1, there we are. Okay, so there's T3 is empty, T1, T2, and T4. There's a temperature sensor there connected. So now this doesn't show which one of the sensors is which, but at the moment I'm not gonna connect them because I'm gonna be more interested in making the wiring loom so I can connect my BMS to this. So I think the idea would be, I have some ribbon cable here, this is a sword. I'm gonna strip the end and I'm gonna solder them to these points, and then I'm gonna crimp the connector end, the contacts, and then populate the header on the other end. Okay, so the plan here is I'm planning on mounting my BMS like somewhere atop of this balance breakout board, somewhere along here. So in that sense, it's going to be pretty easy to wire, because we basically want the bottom of the pack, which is this -1 here. It's going to be the most. It's going to go to the balance connectors, the USB end, basically, and then we just populate it in the same direction. So bottom of the pack cell goes to the USB end, and then we populate it up towards the actual back terminal connection. And that same way, if we flip the board, we can see the same numbers, except the -1 is marked 0 on the FlexiBMS. So when we flip this board around, it is basically the same connection order. So this -1 goes to this, then the next one is the 1, it will be the next one, and then we just populate it in order towards the back terminal connection. And I think I'm gonna solder on. I split the ribbon cable in 2 pieces, and I have already pre-crimped the connectors to the other end. So I think I'm gonna basically solder them on, make them go this way, and then I'm gonna bend the cable so it turns back into the housing. And I already have a housing here, so well, let me just get to it. So I now have the balance connector soldered onto the balance breakout board, and I have wired up my balance connector. So basically it's going to be simple as, it's going to just straight up connect like so to the BMS. And just to make sure that it's clear, now if you look at this, the bottom of the pack goes at the end of the USB connector. This is the bottom, and then you populate towards the top. And the markings on the back side are meant to reflect that, as you have a minus here, 0, and basically the cell numbering goes up towards the battery pack terminal connection, and then you have a plus to indicate how to populate the balance leads from the pack. So that should be a pretty good and clear way on how to wire your balance connector. So I think we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna go and hook this up, and let's see if we can get some readings on the computer about the cell voltages. Yeah, let's do that next. Back at the battery pack, got my terminal connection there, got my wired up BMS there. So let's hook it up. About there. First, I'm gonna plug in my BMS. I should get the wake up sequence. Good. Then we're gonna plug in the BMS, the balance connector, and we're gonna check if there's gonna be any explosions. Not that I can see any. That should be making a connection there. So I'm gonna get a micro USB. We're gonna connect it and we're gonna check what we see on the computer. Okay, so we should get a blue LED indicating that a USB connection has been detected. Excellent. So let us go and see what we find on our serial terminal. So I'm using HTML, Discover, 134, $sign R, just status reporting on. Let me just configure the correct new line. There we are. And oh dear, there's something weird going on. It looks like there's one cell that is disconnected. Maybe we have a bad connection. Let's figure that out. Yeah, that looks like there's a one cell that is not connected properly. Okay, let's. I'm gonna figure that out, and I'm gonna tell you what the problem was. Okay, so it seems that the problem was that this connector was not properly seated all the way to the end, so one of the cells wasn't making a connection. But now that I basically just plugged it in a little bit more by moving that latch upwards. So now we are seeing correct readings for all the cells, which is great. So now we have our BMS connected, and we are reading correctly all the cells. So if we have a little bit of a, so there we are. So once again, bottom of the pack goes towards the USB end, and then you populate it upwards the pack and towards the battery pack terminals. Like so. Yeah, it's good. We get good cells. I'm gonna have to figure out next probably how to mount. I'm gonna make a custom backplate. Gonna figure out how to mount this to it, and then figure out how to mount how to mount the BMS on top of this one, and then maybe some kind of cover on top of all that. Yeah, we are reading good cells. Excellent. See you later.